Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the biggest, most fascinating conflicts of our time, the clash between artificial intelligence and intellectual property. You know, this is a story about art, it's about big money, and ultimately, it's about who gets to own the future of creativity. Just think about it for a second. A new kind of artist is here, one that can whip up a masterpiece in seconds. It's studied every painting, it's read every book, it's heard every song ever made. And no, this isn't sci-fi anymore. This is the reality of generative AI, and it is completely shaking up everything we thought we knew about what it means to create. So how in the world did we get here? Well, first, we've got to understand that AI isn't just a simple tool anymore, like a fancy calculator. It's evolved into what you could almost call a creative partner. And this right here is the key idea. AI-generated content isn't just some random collage. These systems, like DALL-E or Midjourney, they're trained to learn the very DNA of human creativity, all the patterns, the styles, the techniques from billions and billions of examples. So they don't just copy and paste, they learn, and then they create something that is, for all intents and purposes, brand new. Which, of course, leads us to the billion image question. How does a machine actually learn to be an artist? The answer is, well, it's a process that's both technologically incredible and, as you'll see, legally very, very messy. Okay, so here's the quick and dirty version of how it works. First, developers basically throw a massive digital library at the AI. Art, text, music, you name it. Then the algorithm tears through all that data to figure out the patterns. It learns what makes a Van Gogh look like a Van Gogh. This whole process creates a trained model, which is basically the AI's brain. Finally, you give it a prompt, say a cat in the style of Van Gogh, and boom, it generates a totally unique image based on everything it's learned. And that simple question, that's where everything gets complicated. All that learning material, the photos, the paintings, the novels, the songs, it had to come from somewhere, right? It came from the internet, and a whole lot of it is protected by copyright. And now we step onto the legal battlefield. Look, this is not some theoretical, philosophical debate. This is a real fight playing out in courtrooms as we speak, pitting actual human artists against the tech giants who are building these incredible AI models. And this sentiment really gets to the heart of it for so many creators. They feel like their art, their passion, their entire livelihood is being hoovered up and used as raw material to train a system that might just make them obsolete. And it's all happening without their permission and without them seeing a dime. So, this whole legal battle really boils down to two completely different ways of seeing the world. On one side, you've got the AI developers. They're arguing fair use. They say training an AI is transformative. It's not copying, it's learning, kind of like a human art student studying the masters in a museum. But on the other side, you have the copyright holders. They're calling it what it is, mass infringement. They say it's more like a factory photocopying every single book in a library to publish its own, directly competing with the original authors. And believe me, this isn't just talk. The lawsuits are flying. We're seeing huge cases, like Getty Images suing Stability AI for scraping millions of their photos. We've got authors and news publishers suing OpenAI and Microsoft for training on their work. Music publishers are going after an AI company called Anthropic for spitting out copyrighted song lyrics. And of course, who could forget the viral fake Drake song, which just blew the lid off the conversation about copyright when an AI can perfectly mimic an artist's voice. So why is this fight so intense? Well, as always, it helps to follow the money, because this isn't just about the soul of art. It's about an absolutely massive economic shift. First, let's just get a sense of the scale here. The traditional creative economy, we're talking music, film, publishing, all of it, is a $2.3 trillion industry. That is a huge slice of the entire global economy, and it supports millions and millions of jobs. Now look at this. The generative AI market is projected to absolutely explode, surpassing $1.3 trillion in less than a decade. That kind of money doesn't just quietly enter an industry. No, it kicks the door down and changes everything. And if we just zoom into next year, you can see these new AI creative markets are already worth billions. It's pretty wild to see AI music projected to lead the pack, right? An area where style and voice are so incredibly personal. This really is the new gold rush, and everybody is scrambling to stake their claim. So, with all this groundbreaking tech and staggering amounts of money flying around, what are governments doing about it? Well, the answer is, it's complicated. The global response is basically a patchwork of totally different ideas about what ownership even means in this new world. Over in the United States, they're drawing a pretty clear line in the sand. Copyright is for people. The U.S. Copyright Office has been really firm on this. They're saying a work has to have a human author to be protected. So if you just type in a prompt and the AI does all the heavy lifting, that final image or text can't be copyrighted. Now, the European Union is taking a slightly different approach. They're all about transparency. Their new AI Act is going to force developers to publish summaries of the copyrighted stuff they used for training. This gives creators a fighting chance to see if their work was used and then decide what to do about it. The UK has this really interesting rule that's actually been on the books for years. For computer-generated works that don't have a direct human author, the copyright can actually go to the person who made the necessary arrangements for it to be created. It's a fascinating approach that could definitely be applied to AI. Japan, on the other hand, is way more friendly to AI development. Their law pretty much allows copyrighted material to be used for AI training. This creates a completely different and you could say much more welcoming environment for tech companies and artists over there. And then in India, the law is a bit more open-ended. The author is defined as the person who causes the work to be created. Now, that's a really flexible definition, and it leaves a ton of room for interpretation as the courts start to get their hands on these AI cases. So, there you have it. We've got a technology that can create like never before, a legal system that's scrambling to catch up, and a global economy that's being turned upside down. And all of it is forcing us to ask a really profound question. As machines start to master creativity, what does it truly mean to be an artist?